Well, shooters and reloaders out there, Fortune Cookie 45LC coming to you from a hot lead zone and wishing you a very nice New Year's 2018, because today is New Year's Eve. Well, I thought I'd do a video. Now, as you know, that we've done a recent data compilation on the comparison of the accuracy of traditionally lubed cast bullets with powder-coated cast bullets. And the result of 25 shot groups, 10 each between these two types of lubricated cast bullets, showed that powder-coated cast bullets and traditionally lubed with the grooves cast bullets is the same. Well, there are some of you out there that would say that that's not enough data to be statistically significant. And you know what? You're right. We need more data. So the testing between these two types is going to continue. And Loads of Bacon recently sent me some cast bullets, so it's going to give us an even better way to compare the traditionally lubed with powder coated, because I didn't cast them. Loads of Bacon did a nice job casting. Let me show you what we're going to use. Well, Loads of Bacon sent me these real nice 226 grain powder coated cast bullets in 45 caliber, perfect for the 45 ACP, and he used the copper penny to powder coat these. Well, we can't do any comparison with these bullets because these bullets are straight-sided bullets designed specifically for powder coating, and they have no lube grooves for us to do any traditional lubing. So even though these are real nice bullets, we can't use these for the comparison test. But what Loads of Bacon did send me, and he must have read my mind, because what he sent me was these 45 caliber bullets that are the semi-wad cutter Keith design, 260 grains, and then these full wad cutters, 260 grains, and they're cast out of custom molds, I believe from Arsenal. At any rate, these are all 260 grain bullets, and they're raw castings, which means I'm free to do traditional lubing or powder coating, and I'm going to do both. So we're going to be able to test these, and Loads of Bacon sent me a goodly amount of these bullets so that I can do some good testing with them. So I'm going to go ahead and traditionally lube half of these, and also the other half powder coat. So we'll be able to use those in our test. So let's first go ahead and do the traditionally lubing of these bullets. So here you see my RCBS LubeAMatic 2 sizer lubricator. And these units aren't that expensive. It's a press that resizes the bullet to whatever diameter you want and then applies the lube at the same time. Well, to change the die from 429 to 452, you simply take out or loosen up this retaining nut, and then you put a metal instrument between the ram and the linkage, and you go ahead and close that up, and you see it ejects the die. So then you just simply take the retaining nut and the die out, and you separate the retaining nut from the 429 sizing die. Now, of course, it's going to have a lot of lube gummed up on this thing, but that's normal. We don't have to clean that off because it's going to go back in whenever we want to. And then here's the 452. We go ahead and put the two together. You don't have to do it this way. You can actually put the die in first, like this, and just push it down. And you can use a metal instrument to help seat that, like this. Okay, so we use a metal tool, any metal tool, and use that to help seat that die in the press. And then it's a simple matter to put the nut back on and get it lined up and catch the threads and then tighten it back up. We won't show you that on camera because it is a little bit of a testy chore, but can be done without too much trouble. So it is a little bit of a chore because you've got to rubber O-ring around the die there that makes it a little bit harder for you to get the threads caught. But once you do, you're good. So then you just go ahead and crank that down. Now you don't want to have your wrench take the powder coat off your press, so you do have to be a little bit careful there. But without too much trouble, we have it installed. As you see there. There it is. We're good to go. Now this plate that the press is on is actually a lube heater. If you plug it in, this will generate heat that causes the temperature to rise in the reservoir, which is right in here, right back here. And once that warms up, any lube that you have in there that requires heat will soften up and then it'll be usable. But other lubes, like the one that I have in here, the homemade lube, will be fine without the heater. So we're not going to plug the heater in. So this is actually ready to go. We lower this, and then we want to go ahead and pressurize the little pressurizing crank. Now I depressurized it from last use, but there you go. Now I've got pressure in there. So now we can start running bullets in here until we get lube in the bullets. So now let me show you how this goes. You see, here's one of our cast bullets. Nice job, by the way, that Loads of Bacon did on these castings. Look at these. Really nice castings. Elmer Keith would be very happy. But anyway, you put that in there. You see how it sits in there flat? Now, we go ahead and lower the handle until the top driving band is even with the entrance to the die, because that's all you need. We're not going to try to put lube in the crimping groove. Although if you get some in there, it doesn't matter. I learned that from John Lachuk many years ago. He said it doesn't matter if you get lube in the... Now you see we didn't get any lube in there in the main either, so let's put that back in. We need more pressure. Oop, got in the way of the light there. There you see the lube is going into the groove. Now, I still have some Lyman Moly lube in there that hasn't cycled through yet. There you see the grease groove is filled, and we've got a nice lubed, traditionally lubed cast bullet. Beautiful. Now also, you notice there's no lube on the base. What happens if you have a bevel base or a rounded base, then that's actually a little area where lube wants to go. So if the little lube openings in there line up with that rounded base, then the lube will get in there, and it could then force its way, if you use a lot of pressure, between your die stem and the base of the bullet, so you'll get lube all over the base of your bullet. But if you got it perfectly set, no lube will get in there, because this corner seals between the die and the bullet, so no lube can get in there. And the lube only goes into the grease groove, as you see. And if you don't put it in the die far enough, the lube won't go into the crimping groove. So you see, there you got it. So that goes into our receptacle. So let's go ahead now, because the camera's right in the way of the handle, give you a good look at that. I can't go crazy doing this, as you've seen me do on other videos. But I wanted to show you a close-up of this. See how that's really nice? And also you see how my homemade lube is starting to come through. And there's a clean base. This is what we want. See if I can show you that now better with the camera a little bit off axis. Of course, things are, now you see my own homemade lube is starting to come through. There you see. But there you go. A nicely lubed traditional cast bullet. Perfect. We'll go ahead and do a whole bunch of them now off the camera. By the way, if you're putting gas checks on these things, then you gotta slip a gas check over this, or just put the gas check right in the die and then put your bullet on top, and then when you do your sizing, it'll seat the gas check at the same time. Simple. Child's play. Now, of course, this really is child's play, isn't it? We're looking at 2018, but we're still kids at heart, right? This is just like child's play. Now, if you don't like the compression of the lube and it's a little bit too hard in your opinion, you can simply plug in your heater and just soften that up a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to make the lube run. You can just soften up a little bit and make your job a little easier. Why not? So I'll probably go ahead and perfect. So I'll probably go ahead and plug the lube heater in, and then we'll run a whole bunch of these and show you. Now, of course, some of you out there who own this machine will say, why don't you adjust these little stops so that when you put the bullet all the way down, it stops where you want it, instead of eyeballing it? Well, you can certainly do that. And the reason why I don't do that is because I load different calibers and I get tired of making that adjustment all the time. It's easier for me just to go ahead and do it with eyeballing. But I found that if I accidentally put the bullet down too far, then I'll get a little bit of lube in the crimping groove, but that doesn't hurt a thing. So, in fact, if I get any lube in that crimping groove, there used to be an old commercial when the cigarette companies were able to advertise on TV. They used to have a jingle, and that was that it's what's up front that counts. Well, if you get a little bit of lube in that crimping groove, that's okay. It never hurts anything. I found that eyeballing is just fine, and if I don't put the bullet down far enough, which very seldom happens, then I don't get any grease in the groove at all, and then it won't pass the inspection as I take the bullet out of the press. Of course, we all have our own little idiosyncrasies when it comes to the favored way to run our presses anyway, so whatever works for you is just fine. Now, you'll notice that this type of press requires an in-stroke and an outstroke, whereas the lubrisizer, it only goes in and keeps going until it goes all the way through, so there's really no outstroke. And that's also true of the Cadillac of presses, which is a press that is owned by Thorzak 777. That's the Star sizer lubricator, and that one is the Cadillac, of course. But our RCBS or our Seiko or our Lyman lubricizers are all in the same class. And they work well for our use. If you like the Cadillac, get the Star. And if you like value, get the lubrisizer kits. They work very well also, as you've seen in some of my other videos. But this video is about traditional lubing, and you can't do traditional lubing on a lubrisizer. Those lubricizers are made for the tumble lube system, which is another lube system as we've discussed on other videos. Now, one disadvantage of these type of presses is that you need a nose punch that'll fit the nose of your bullet. But I found that if you just take a nose punch and just flatten it out with a file, that it'll work for most of our cast bullets. As you see, I've already lubed this one, and you see how the nose is perfect? Well, that's because this one has a flat nose, and you got a matching flat nose punch. It's perfect. You don't need all those flanges that go down the sides of the nose. They don't really serve any purpose at all. By the way, you see there's the 50th bullet coming out of there, and you see it's lubed perfectly. There's no lube on the base, and just as important, there's no lube fouling the station of the die. Because if you get that, it means you've got lube leakage down there between the bullet and the base the base of the bullet and the stem, and that's no good. So you want to have this looking clean the whole time, and if you got that, you're really making music with your lubricizer. So we'll just show you the last one of these 260 grain wad cutter bullets. They actually seat with part of the bullet out of the case. It's not even with the case mouth. This is the way this is designed. So we'll go ahead and do the last one and you can see what we got. So right up to the front of the driving band. And see, we got a little bit of lube on the bottom there. Always good to have a little rag to wipe that off in case. But there you go. All the driving bands are sized, so it's looking good. So shooters and reloaders out there, here are our sized to 4.52 bullets and lubed. Ready to load. We'll go ahead and powder coat the other 50 of them so that we'll have enough to do testing to compare the accuracy of lubed cast bullets, traditional lubed, versus powder coated lubed. Bye for now.